6 income producing multifamily properties hit the market in South Florida. Let's check them out and see which ones are going to be able to cash flow and which ones would just burn a hole in your pocket. All right, first things first, I want you guys to see this calculator. That's what we're going to be using to calculate which one is a good deal or not. This calculator is going to have everything from the 1% rule, a DSCR gauge to tell us how much of the rents or how much of the mortgage the rents could actually cover. We're going to have here if the realtors don't tell us how much they could get in rents, we're going to find that out too. So don't worry, everything is here, but you'll see it as we go along, guys. We're going to give you guys the returns that you're looking for without all the hassle, without all the work, just upfront. But first, you have to know a couple of things. Interest rates are higher, right? 6.37, that's as of the last update that the Federal Reserve gave us. And that's for the 30-year fixed rate average in the United States. So if you're going to take out a loan for 30 years, that's the average that it was for the last week. So it did go up a tad, okay? Now, that being said, check it out. You could use that information to negotiate yourself a better deal from the seller, right? Because the higher the interest rates go, the less buyers that seller is going to have. And therefore, if he is really motivated to sell, he's going to have to sell at a lower price. So with that being said, the second step that you're going to look at to negotiate yourself a good price is this. Look at how many houses hit the market in the last 7 days, 2,096. Look how many houses had a price decrease in the same time, 1,978. So it's almost basically it's a 1-to-1, right? It's off by 100 of how many houses came onto the market and saw a price decrease. So for every house hitting the market, we're still seeing that it's pretty much a house that's also having a price decrease. So the chances in that case that the new house that just came onto the market eventually having a price decrease are pretty high as well. So if at first the owner tells you no, just be persistent. Make sure to continue to follow up and say hey, listen, I'm still interested in the property. I'm still interested in the property. It's this much money. It's this much money. And if he's actually motivated, they'll take it. Okay, it happens. So with that being said, guys, let's take a look at the 6 properties that hit the market today and see what we could get. See if there's any properties here that make sense. First things first, we're going to sort this by price per square foot. Okay, I can tell you that more than likely, there's probably going to be just 1 or 2 properties that are going to make it today. That's the way that the nature of this thing is, right? So let's get started. This first property, right? It's a duplex in Broward County. All right, they want $1 million for it. They want 1050. Sorry. And that's a duplex, and they are paying $11,418 a year in taxes. Square feet wise, 1,785. So it's medium size, but they're saying that they're collecting $8,000 a month in rent, which is not that bad, right? If you are doing the 1% rule, that's going to bring this up to almost a 0.8, right? So we do that as 0.76, which is not bad. If that's what it's actually producing, again, not terrible. Let's look at the quality of the property. All right, this almost looks like Photoshopped. It's gorgeous. This might have been an Airbnb, and we just got, wow, it's really pretty. And we just got to make sure that 1, this is not a single family home, and 2, that they're not trying to sell this off as a single family home that's an Airbnb, and that those rent numbers are not actual Airbnb numbers. What we're looking for is long-term rents here. So, because otherwise with short-term rents, you could create a lot more money, but you're also going to have a lot more expenses. So exceptional investment, one of our largest, most sought after neighborhoods. Progreso Ponciera Heights is meticulously renovated property. It's configured as a true duplex with separate electric meters offering flexibility, privacy, strong income potential. The residence features a thoughtfully designed layout, a main home with 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, plus a private rear 1 bedroom, 1 bath unit, ideal for long-term tenants or short-term rental income. Okay. This is a proven income-producing asset professionally managed on Airbnb for the last 2 years, generating $100,000 in revenue. And that's the key word. And I appreciate that this realtor was honest here. Revenue. All right. Revenue is different from net operating income. Okay. This is what comes in before the expenses. Okay. So with that being said, they say that they have a 2-2. Okay. But they do say that the seller is motivated. So that's good to know. Okay. They said it has a 2-2 renting for $4,500. Now let's do a rent check. In Broward County, the most expensive 2-bedroom, 1 bath that I saw was $3,000. let's say because it's a 2-2, you're gonna get $3,500 for it because it's gorgeous. It really is pretty. And then that 1-1, they said they're getting $3,500. Well, for a 1-1, the maximum, and this is again a waterfront kind of property, is $2,600. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. We didn't see a lot of pictures for that 1-1, but let's say it's $2,500. That totally changes the income. Now that income, instead of being $8,000, is $6,000. And so that totally changes the landscape of this. And let me just take quick notes of this because we want to be able to, sorry guys, we want to be able to document this. So as always, I have my little notebook here, and we got to put this information. All right, so the purchase price is 1.05 million. It's a duplex in Broward County. Okay, let me see. The rents right now, they're saying that they're $8,000. If that's the case, right? If that's the case, the best return that this property could give you would be a 12.6%, which isn't bad, right? But the reality is probably that this rent is $6,000 at best, all right? But the seller is motivated, they say. Is he in distress? Let's see. Not here. Let's see if this guy's in distress. Does he owe back taxes or something like that? No, it doesn't seem like he does. Okay, so, right. I think that the most you can get here for rent is going to be about $6,000. Let's see. What's a good price reduction, do you think? I think that this guy probably wouldn't go down a whole lot. Just he spent money on this property. I mean, this pool is really nice. Like all of this, like outside, like the solar panels and all this. Okay, so maybe he could take $50,000 off that purchase price. Okay. And so like, let's say you end up like $55,000 off. I think that that's what this guy would probably realistically sell this for. And then you end up, I think he would take down 50 actually. He would take down 50K. And if he takes out 50K, that's why he put it at that price. Then it's $1 million, but it's actually producing $6,000 a month in rent. And then the best return that this property could actually give you is going to be a 7.5%. So I think they overstated the rents here, at least definitely for long-term rents. And again, it kind of washes out, right? Like you are going to make a little bit more, marginally more using Airbnb, but you're going to have more vacancies. You're going to have more turnover costs. So they might make $100,000 a year, okay, which comes out to, yeah, roughly $8,000 a month. But at the end of the day, like, again, that's not counting all of the expenses, okay, that come with having an Airbnb. So yeah, for that reason, you know, like $6,000, at $6,000, this property does not make sense. So we're gonna go ahead and discard it. Okay, next up, it's a 1.399, so $1.4 million fourplex in Broward County. They're currently paying $20,193 a year in taxes. All right, it's a big one, 3,195 square feet. Okay, 1.4 million. It's basically a fourplex. It's in Broward, yeah. And do they tell us how much you're collecting in rents? They don't. Let's look at the quality of the property first. All right, so it looks a little almost industrial, but I like it. It's pretty. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty. I don't like the colors on the outside, but you know, you could change those easy. On the inside, the property is great, you know. Yeah, great. Let's look at the actual description of this. Okay, 4-unit property for sale, turnkey property features, modern upgrades, yada yada yada. Enjoying for 2 parking spaces, impact windows, da 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 da. 1 unit for showing, all other 3 are rented long-term tenants. That's great. Okay, so apparently they have a 2-1 that's rented for $2,100. They have another 2-1 that's rented for $2,000. Okay, I'm gonna assume, because they don't say it here. let's look here. Let's look at the folio number. See if we get some more info. 4 units. Okay, but they don't tell us how many beds and baths. Unfortunately, sometimes these records are not complete. So I'm just going to say that it's 4 2-1s. I'm going to assume that it's 4 2-1s. And that the other ones, let's say that they're also, you could also rent them out at 2,100. Whoops. Sorry. Let's say you could also rent them out for $2,100 and $2,000. Whoops. 2. Right? Then that means that the income that this property could produce is $8,200. Unfortunately, they want $1.4 million for it, which means that the 1% rule is kind of shot. At best, it's going to be a 0.6% instead of a 1%. Okay? And at this rate, right, the rents wouldn't even pay off the mortgage if you bought it for $1.4 million. Now, what do I think that this guy would bring it down? Yeah, let's suppose that he brings it down, which is like usually with the maximum that we see before they delist the property, which is about 10% of the purchase price, right? So let's say they take off about 10% of the purchase price. That's $140,000. Okay, that brings us down to, let's say it's $150,000. So it brings us down to 1.25. At that rate, it still wouldn't even pay off your entire mortgage, okay? And you wouldn't be able to get a loan on this anyway, at least not with an investment loan, not DSCR loan. So for that reason, guys, right, like, and let's look at the rents. Like, is there something that we could do with the rents here? It's 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It's in Broward County. Look, guys, the median rent for a 2-1 is $1,960. Given the quality, yeah, I think that they could get a little bit more, 2,000 or 2,100, but I think that that's probably the max for that. So, I don't see space for the rents to go up here, which is unfortunate because at the price that they're at right now, the best this property could do, even if you reduce the price by 150K, is a 7.3% return on your investment. And at that point, you're better off just going with the S&P. And God forbid that you actually pay the whole purchase price for this, your return is actually only 6.3%. So for that reason, this property is also not something to consider. Okay, next up, it's $1 million duplex in Palm Beach. Whoop. These prices are funny, man. Taxes, they're paying $10,348 a year in taxes. Square feet wise, it's not that little, 2,365 square feet. Okay, let's take a look at the quality of the property. It's really pretty. It does have, it's shingled roof, but look at the driveway, it's gorgeous. The landscaping is really pretty. Yeah, it's right off of the intercoastal. That's gorgeous. Okay. Space there for a boat, as a matter of fact. Right? Gorgeous. Yeah. Whoever decorated this on the inside, kudos. As well as the outside. Very well done. Beautiful, beautiful duplex. All right, cool. Let's look at the guts of this deal. Rent investment opportunity, duplex, prime location, 1 mile to the beach, mint condition. Okay, $4,000 rent income each unit, 2-bedroom, 3 bath, 2-bedroom, 2 units, 3 bed, 2 bath. Okay, so it's 2 3-2s. So that's fantastic because the 3-2s definitely rent for more money. Okay, and he's saying that they're renting out for $4,000 a piece. Okay. If that's the case, guys, we're not looking too bad, all right? It's a 0.8 on the 1% rule. So instead of 1%, it's 0.8. That's not bad, all right? We'd like to be at 0.9 or more, obviously, but 0.8, you know, it's worth looking at. And as far as the DSCR, I mean, based on the purchase price and the current taxes, right, this would pay off your loan and then some. The rents would. Right? And it's actually more than 125% of the mortgage. So it'd be kind of easy to get an investment loan for this property. All right. Now let's do a little quick rent check. A 3-2, right, in Broward County rents for up to $3,800. In Palm Beach, $4,000. That's a bit of a stretch, but it's in a great area. As you can see here, it's right next to the intercoastal. It's big. Like the property is like beautiful. So I think that that's accurate. $4,000. I think it passes the smell check. You obviously want to do your own due diligence and look for comparable rents within the area that are closed rents. Not that they're renting them for that, but that they're actually rented for that price. All right. But yeah, apart from that, this property looks pretty good. Let's see what the actual returns actually end up being for this. All right. So if you buy this $1 million duplex in Palm Beach that makes $8,000 a month, your returns on this property could be as good as 13.6%. Now, do I think that you could maybe move the rents up a little bit? Hard to tell. I highly suggest that you do a rental analysis. Look, the property is right here. Literally, like if you want to go to the beach, you like go up here, go out to the main road, make a left, come over here and cross this little bridge and you're at the beach, right? And if there's a boat ramp somewhere around here, you could park your boat here and take your boat there, and you're there in a heartbeat. So with that being said, guys, I don't see. I mean, I could see this guy maybe taking a bit of money off of this, right? If he wants to sell it quick, I think maybe taking about 5% off, so like $50,000. So if you offered him $950, maybe that's the best deal you can get here. And if you do that, then the returns here actually jump up to 15.5%, and that would be a great freaking deal, okay? And yeah, that would be taking 50 grand off. That's 5% off. So yeah, not bad at all. Again, 0 days on the market, guys. So if you like this property, if you want something close to the water, this is it. All right, let's discard this one. Let's keep moving. Let's keep looking for even better deals. All right, we're at 15% returns already. All right. Next up, it's a $995,000 duplex in Miami-Dade. They're paying $12,144 a year in taxes. Square feet wise, 2,369 square feet. Whoops. 2,369 square feet. They're saying that they're only collecting in rent $5,700. And you can see here, right there, that's a beautiful example, right? It's another duplex in a different area, more expensive actually, right? More expensive, or the same price, more or less. And they're getting way less in rent. And they're in a worse flood zone. So let's take a look at the property and look at the quality of the property, right? Granted, it's in Miami, terrazzo. I like terrazzo, man. I don't know why. I really like terrazzo floors. But yeah, nothing to do with the other property. Let's look at the guts of this deal, see what we could figure out. So it's a 3-2 and a 2-1, right? Which is that's how it comes out to the amount of money. So it's $3,200 for the 3-2, and it's $2,500 for the 2-1. And let's do a quick rent check on that, guys. 2-1 in Miami-Dade, $2,300. They're saying they're getting $2,500. This property doesn't look like it's above median type of like quality. It just looks like mid. So yeah, I mean it's kind of possible, but I don't really see it. And then they say that for the 3-2 they're getting $3,200. Okay, so it's possible, guys. I'm not gonna poo-poo on it. All right, so I'm gonna say that I'm just gonna keep it at that. $995. Okay, it's a duplex in Miami-Dade. They said they're collecting $5,700. Okay, and if that's the case, then the best return that this property is going to give you on investment is going to be a 6.4%. Okay, and let's say that they're actually collecting that $5,700. If you could actually negotiate this guy down, I think that this is a property where he's going to have to take 10% off for this property to make sense, and he might actually do that. So let's say he does that and he sells it to you for $900, right? So taking $95K off. That would mean that the best return that this property could do, it's not going to be good, guys. 7.3%. So it goes up less than 1% ROI here over the life of the loan. All right. Now, seeing kind of any distress, any back taxes owed. Let's look at the folio number. No. Okay. So nothing really there to look at. Let's move on to the next property. All right, our second to last property, they're selling it for $1,050,000. I'm always surprised by these numbers, dude, that they come up with. $13,816 in taxes is what they're paying. The property is not that little, right? 2,752 square feet. All right, and they are actually collecting in rent $6,400. All right, flood zone X, which is the best kind of flood zone you could be in. Let's take a look at the quality of the property here. Okay, so it's two duplexes. It's two separate structures, but they look like they're almost conjoined. And look at these over here. That's interesting. I've never seen this before. They're probably the same owner at some point. And the neighbor really fixed up his driveway. That's really nice. Okay, this one's not ugly either, but on the inside, it is a little dated. Okay, yeah, a bit dated for sure. For sure, for sure. But it's not horrible. Let's look at the rent, see if we could do something better than $6,400. It's probably 232s, okay? 232s. All right, well, here's the deal, guys. They're saying that one of the 32s rents for $3,000 and the other one rents for $3,400. Now, is it a short-term rent or what is it? No, they're leased. They're leased. Okay, so the question is here, guys, can we actually increase rents at all? All right, it's in Miami-Dade. It's a 3-2. You can see at the median here is $3,000. You know, it's safe to say that, you know, the property is okay and in a nice area. Why can't you rent out the other 3-2 for $3,400 too? If you could do that, then your returns would jump up to 60, or your collected income would come up to $6,800, and it would improve your returns. Because right now, this property at best is producing 6.9% in returns, right? If it only collects $6,400 right here, then at best it's only going to produce 6.9% returns, and that's with a 25% down payment. So yeah, this duplex in Miami-Dade is not looking too hot right now at 1.05 mil. All right. Now, what if we could reduce the price here? Another 10%, right? Bring this guy down to, yeah, $100,000 off. So $950,000. Yeah. So 950 grand. Take off that bit and increase the rent to 6,800. Sorry. Right? And if you could do that, this property still doesn't make sense, unfortunately. And that's after dropping 100K. And again, guys, the reason for these exercises is to see if it'll make sense, right? Like any property can make sense. If I come here and I reduce this price down to 700K, then I can tell you that this property could make you 16% return on investment, but that would be a lie because the chances of this guy who listed for $1 million, $1,050,000, taking off $350,000 off his purchase price, right? More than 30% would be really unrealistic. And so you'd be doing all this homework in vain. And that's kind of like what I've been like sometimes like learning the hard way, right? Like I'm like, oh, if I could only get this property for this price. Well, I like to focus on the more realistic approach, right? I like to call and offer deals that could make sense and focus on the properties that are really getting already good returns, right? Because if I could just negotiate just a little bit more, then it really makes it worth it. Otherwise, I'm focusing on sellers that just want, you know, pie in the sky numbers, and we're never gonna really, I'm gonna be wasting my time. I don't wanna waste my time. I don't want you to waste your time either. And that's why we analyze properties this way. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna discard this property. We're gonna look at the last property for the day, guys. It is a man, they were all millionaire properties today. 1.299, so $1.3 million triplex in Miami-Dade. They're currently paying $9,323 a year in taxes. Square feet, it's big, 4,135 square feet. Let's look at how much they're collecting in rents. They don't tell us. Flood zone X, better kind of flood zone. Let's look at the quality of the property. Well, it looks like ass, okay? On the inside, it looks better. What was this? Was this a room, a laundry, like an efficiency? Weird. I think they put titles at the bottom. Laundry. Man, that could be a room. That's nice. So this might have potential. It's just painted terribly and has like really ugly floors. But this has like old, weird looking shaker cabinets. So maybe you could paint these, make them look better. It has granite looking countertops. I think that this is like the fake granite. And then mixed appliances, stainless steel this, like white that. Yeah, so like I think it's easy fixes here. Easy fixes, and all of a sudden this property could look a lot better. All right, so keep that in mind. I like seeing properties like this. But let's see if it makes any sense. Okay, so it's a 3-2, a 2-1, and a 2-1. Okay, in highly central Miami location, conveniently located next to Miami International, Little Havana, Lone Depot Park, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so it's a 3-2, okay, a 3-2. Now in Miami-Dade, a 3-2, the median, if you remember here, guys, was going for about 3 grand. So let's leave that there, 3 grand. 2-1, right? In Miami-Dade, about $2,300. And then another 2-1. So let's put another $2,300 on the board here. All right. So I think that this property could be making somewhere near around like 7,600, maybe a little bit more. Okay. But just if you bought it this way and you could get these rents, just median rents, right, for the area, the best returns that this property are going to make you are going to be 7.3%. Okay. And that would be collecting $7,600 a month in rent. And that's for a triplex. Okay. That's for a triplex here in Miami-Dade. So, you know, to pay $1.3 million for that, I don't think it quite makes sense. Now, let's say you fixed up the inside a little bit, and now you could collect another $400, right? Because you're getting a little bit more. Let's say $100 here, $100 or $200 here, $100 there, and $100 there. So now you're getting $400 more in rent because you fixed up the inside. And let's say you're able to negotiate 10% off this price as well, right? So that would be 130 grand. So now you're down to 1169, right? And what does that return give you? At best, a 9.2%. So why go through all that trouble, have 3 tenants all of a sudden, you know, negotiate down 130 grand, raise the rents somehow to above median, and now you're at $8,000, and you're still earning less than if you just invested in the S&P. So it doesn't even make sense, right? If you go through all that work, there were literally 2 properties, the first 2 properties that we saw tonight, that by themselves are making more money than this, okay? Actually, I lie, because one of them overstated their rents. But the third property we saw today, that one by itself, and it looked very plausible, was making 13.6% returns just as is. If you're able to negotiate the price down on that property, it could make you as good as 15.5% returns. So again, guys, those are the properties for today. Not bad. Some deals were really nice, especially that property in Palm Beach. I really liked it. That being said, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you tomorrow.